Good morning, I hope you're all well in these strange times. I'm just sat on the balcony having an espresso, and I pulled out my arguably two of my most used G-Shocks, just to have a play around with, and I was thinking about why they're so important to me and what it is about them that makes me use them so much. Just for those who don't know, this is the G-Shock Mudmaster GWG 1000, and you have the Gshock Mudman G9300-1. I've had them for a long time. I've had this Mudman for getting on for 10 years now, I believe, and the Mudmaster for about 5 years. Both incredible watches. So what are the three key characteristics that make me come back to them? And I must say, it's very easy to explain that. Number one, just the durability. As I say, I've had these for a number of years. They've never let me down once. I wear these watches hard. I don't ever think about taking them off if I'm doing some kind of activity, be it swimming in the sea, car mechanics, workouts. They're always on my wrist, and they've never once let me down. They are so functional, yet put up with so much abuse. I can only say that I think they're truly indestructible. I can't think of a situation that would, in reality, that I would do that would damage these watches. So that's the first characteristic. The second characteristic is the all-important tough solar. You can see the solar cell sits across the top level of the Mudmaster there. I'm not actually sure where the solar cell sits on the Mudman, but I'm sure someone will point it out, as you so often do on these videos. And yeah, the fact that they're solar means very simply that you just buy them and that's it. There's no maintenance. There's no requirement to send them anywhere for any kind of refurbishment or battery replacement. It's just, you can just buy them and forget about that element of them. They'll always be accurate to a T, and they'll always do what they're required. I love that about it. I love that you can even put them away in a dark environment, in a drawer. The battery autosave will turn the LEDs off so that even when they're not in the sunlight, they still retain that power, and they'll last for months and months, if not years. In that situation, then you bring them out and they're working again. Fantastic. Trouble-free watch ownership is what I'm after. Now, what's the third key characteristic? Well, I'll give you a clue. There you go. It's on these two specific watches, it's the fact they've both got compasses. Now, for me, having a compass on a watch is fantastic. I'm someone who travels a lot. I'm often in new places that I haven't been to before, and what I tend to avoid when I'm in those situations, purely for a practicality and safety perspective, is I try to avoid taking my mobile phone out of my pocket regularly to check where I am. I don't want to look like that tourist or someone who doesn't know where they are. Makes you a bit more vulnerable if you don't know where the place is safe, for example. So if I'm walking across the city and I need to get from A to B, and I've never been to B before, all I really need to do is get my bearing, understand which direction I roughly have to be walking in, and then walk in that direction for roughly the amount of time that I know it takes me to walk that distance. And yes, towards the end, I'll have to refine that with the phone at the end, but in reality, it saves you getting out at every crossroad, at every corner. Shall I go left or right here? No, I just know, look, I'm heading west-northwest, and this is the right bearing, therefore I'll keep going. It's simple. So those are the three key characteristics that bring me back to these watches. When I travel, I always have them with me. I might not necessarily wear them every day, but if I know that I'm going to be in a situation where I'm going to rely on that on that compass, there will be on my person. Don't worry about that. Now I must mention, controversially I know, that I have another watch which has a compass on it. It is this Tissot T-Touch, and it's a very nice piece of kit, to be honest. It's very much a nice hybrid between functionality, practicality, but also quite elegant. You can see the huge solar cell at the top of the watch there. It's been modded significantly by myself. I've put a blue NATO strap on it. I've blacked out the white numbering on the outside bezel just because I thought it looked nicer with that. The loom on the hands is very, very impressive. The only thing that I can really say about the Tissot, which is why I don't actually use it so much these days, is because unfortunately it let me down. I had an issue with the LED display, and yes, I had to send it back to the manufacturer to be replaced, and that was a shame. But again, I do wear my watches very, very hard, and it doesn't surprise me that sometimes these things do happen. The one thing I would like to say at the end of here is I would love it if more of the G-Shock range had the compass. Now I know that's it's very wishful thinking, because, for example, take the GA2100. If this had a compass where the days of the week are here, it would be superb. I don't really use the days of the week indicator that much on this watch, and to be honest, I would like to think that it would be possible to get a compass in there, but in reality I know that's highly unlikely, mostly because the thinness of this watch, I mean, it's so lightweight and thin. The way they achieve that is by simply having a less complicated set of functionalities involved in the watch. So, you know, you make compromises. I love the GA2100 for the fact that it is so light and comfortable, and therefore I understand that they can't have more functionality in it, and that's fine. These two beasts, particularly the WG1000, is a true beast. It's very big. It sits on the wrist, and it's, you know, it's quite some might say in your face, quite, but that's because it's got so much packed into it. So yeah, I just thought I'd give you some thoughts on some of my favorite G-Shocks and why they're so important to me.